Hi guys, uh, happy to see everyone here. So at the conference here, a lot of smart people talking about smart stuff, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, tokens, and many different things. But let's talk about movies. But first, let me actually define that the blockchain bridges should be boring. Why? Let me explain. So the life is ongoing. It's happy, sad, funny, attractive, and even though it could be, but it's not obliged to be boring. The bridge, on the other hand, you usually need to cross in your life, the real life bridge, and you cross to the other side, and you're alive, but you are not like worrying each time. Will be I alive this time, or will I? If I bring my family, if I will make it. So you actually just use it, and it's pretty boring. And again, the design of the bridge could be like fascinating. It's attractive. It could be a piece of art, but the process itself it's boring because the robustness and security, the thing that matters for people. So of course you can make it more fun. You can design like the roads, like in a waveform. Will it be fun? Of course, but it will perhaps distract the people and intimidate. So yeah, you just want to have it simple and confident, the process itself. So the bridge itself as a tool should be boring. And in this analogy, you might imagine that when I was talking about the life, we can talk the similar things about blockchain. Blockchain is life, even though it's a different movie. Not Fast and Furious, and a bridge, as you might have predicted, a blockchain bridge. Again, blockchain could be surprising, like frightening, quiet. It could be disappointing, but also empowering. Usually anything but boring. But the primary purpose of the blockchain bridge, similar to the real life, is to allow you to cross between different chains from point A to point B, chain A to chain B, and actually to ensure that this process is reliable. And during last years, like more than $2 billion were stolen from the bridges, and it's not boring at all, right? So let's keep the enjoyment of the design for the engineers and deliver the robust way to travel between chains. So let's imagine that you are a screenwriter and you are living in the world, which is a boring world, not necessarily a boring world, but the world where actually boring movies are appreciated. So in that world, the Fast and Furious would be a dull and boring movie, but still considered one of the best. And you're a screenwriter and you got a task that you need to write a screenplay about the bridge, the blockchain bridge, explain how secure it is, how it works, and you need to use the analogy of the real bank for your movie. And this is, of course, because the bridge could be seen as also an interbank transfer, which is a boring thing, you may agree. So let's review the cast first. So Alice, it's an honest client. Bob, one of the managers of the bank. Chuck, it's a dishonest client. So let's start writing a script. So the bank has a safe with the money. 3 managers, for example, verify the documents of each of the transfers to prove the validity. And after the verification, they get the key from their keychain, which is on their belt, and open the safe to give the cash to the client. Now let's review some scenarios for the script. So the Alice comes to the bank, like, Mr. Bob, I want to get my money. Here's my documents for the transfer. Bob verifies it, and the other managers do the same. Sure, Mr. Ellis, Mrs. Ellis, these are your money. And then Chuck, a villain, comes to the bank with the same request, but Bob verifies it and sees, oh, we don't see a transfer, you are fraud, bye. So how do you feel about that? It generally looks right, the workflow is fine, but this could become funny relatively easy. One of the ways, for example, another screenwriter comes to you and adds a piece to your screenplay. So the group of armed burglars come to the bank, they retrieve the keys from the managers, it's conveniently on their belts, on the keychain. The burglars, they get access to the safe, they drain it, so the bank becomes insolvent. This is a huge problem for your clients, and their life just became less boring. In this example, you might imagine what the characters here mean. So the manager is an off-chain validator, and key on the belt is the hot wallet, which that validator uses. And as you might know, like also quite recently, there could be actually just one manager, or could be like multiple keys, but eventually just one manager holds all of them on his belt. So it's not really sustainable. So what can we change about that? One of the solutions is that can be probably require having more managers, verify that these are like different managers, different people, and maybe let some of them store their keys, for example, at their home, so they become less hot donuts for the villains. But what could go wrong with that? So, for example, some of the managers get sick, then your client cannot retrieve his funds, and need to wait until all the managers are available. But also the managers could be blackmailed, they can have bad intentions, and they would just open the safe and drain the money. So again, your bank will become insolvent, and there are also many other exotic ways how to get it insolvent, and it's usually pretty interesting, but not boring. So what can we do better? Let's try and improve the previous script a little bit. Imagine how great could it be if you can just trust the other bank, and you know for sure that if you got the information that the transfer happened there, you know for sure you don't need to trust anyone from that bank, you just trust that it happens. And luckily, in this world, the banks have a public database which contain the information about the transfers. So this way we know that transfer is valid. Let's adjust the story. So the bank has a safe with the money, but it also has a client manager, robot Dominic, who verifies the client's documents, and after the verification opens the safe and gives the cash to the client. And it verifies it according to the public databases of these banks. So the robot Dominic has a motto for his life: security is the most important thing in your life. Security family. And Dominic tries to ensure that he's competent enough, that there's no bug in his firmware, so he occasionally invites the group of qualified professionals to review his internals and make sure that everything works perfectly. And in this version of script, the scenario with Alice, Bob, and Chuck remains the same. So this is fine in case the Chuck provides invalid transfer, he won't receive his money. The burglars come to the bank, and the robot can't open anything because there are no records in the database, and you cannot blackmail the robot. So let's review the new actors in our cast. So the bank public database is actually this blockchain that's been connected to the bridge. And the authority of the other bank, who we trust, is actually the blockchain consensus. So why should we trust anyone else but the consensus of the blockchains that we are building the bridge between? And the Dominic in this case is the bridge smart contract on each blockchain, verifying information from the bridge light clients. So yeah, we use blockchain. We believe that the consensus works flawlessly. In case there are issues with the consensus itself, most likely you will have issues on the blockchain itself, not only the breach, and it's hard to protect against this thing for sure. But definitely we don't want to have external breach validators that verify messages and transactions and process the transfers. So let's review one of the practical examples, how we utilize the script in our world now. So this is an example Rainbow breach which utilizes the light clients following the scripts. And the core idea lies that the light clients is the main thing. However, in this scheme, there is one limitation, because for the near light client on Ethereum, it's optimistic. It's because the precompiles for ED25519 signatures, which are signatures of near validators, they are not available yet as a precompile on Ethereum, which makes it super expensive and not sustainable. So because of that, it's optimistic, but it's still trustless, hence the watchdog in the scheme that anyone can run. So out of practicality, we can say that our script, because of this thing, was changed to the following. So now the Dominic verifies one of the banks of the documents each 4 hours, and but it works, and all the scenarios work. And so far we discussed how to make breach furious, which is the most important part, right? You cannot go fast if you are not controlling things. Now let's review one of the possible solutions on how we can add some speed to it. How to make it fast? Well, we need for that the charger and fuel tank for the Dominic, right? So in the script, the charger quickly checks the documents of that bank, which is slow for some reason, and delivers funds to his clients from the fuel tank. And in this case of mistake, the risk is only for the fuel tank, and bank is safe. And in this case, the fuel tank is, of course, meaning the separate pool that holds a liquidity for that breach. So there is no extra risk. So let's review how it was implemented in this case of the Rainbow breach. So we actually required building a fast breach connector and a fast breach relay to connect all the pieces all together and add the speed. So the funds are almost immediately available on only Ethereum chain after the user's transfer on the near chain. And later the fast breach relay will use the trustless proof from the Ethereum blockchain that fast transfer happened, and the user receives his funds, then the relay rebalances back to the Ethereum pool, and it works. And the user also can cancel his transfer using, again, a proof of non-existent fast transfer on the Ethereum blockchain. So there is no risk for the main breach locked value or for the clients, only for that liquidity pool. Nevertheless, it's essential to always remember that no matter how good your Dominic is, there could be some flaws, and there could be, like other screenwriters wearing black hats or white hats that would want to go and modify and deceive your script. So yeah, but we don't need another script, and we don't want to have Fast and Furious security drift. So we need bug bounty. And of course, besides of that, you also need to ensure that you have a proper deployment processes for the breach, and that you have robust monitoring solutions, because not always you can predict what will happen next. So, one of the things that perhaps you have in your head right now, what about ZK to speed up the breach or to make the breach in the first place? Well, ZK is too much fun, especially for the breach. Just look, there are many possibilities for uncertain circuits, for unconstrained circuits, for vulnerable components in the whole chain of building the bridge, because the tools are relatively new. There are still lack of wide expertise in that field and lack of capable auditors. So sometimes the SDK for the bridge, unfortunately, looks like that, kind of strong protected, but you have pretty many workarounds. Or in some cases where there are ZK stuff happening, but it's not actually activated because there was a flow of vulnerability discovered, so it could look like this too. So let's summarize the thing. We really need to have boring bridges. There are many amazing but boring things in our life. Let's say aerial industry. You just use it. The process itself is boring, but it's the bridge between countries, between cities, between many miles. So let's build reliable and boring bridges and have fun in the blockchain and real life. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Oh. Okay, thank you.
I was speaking to somebody else.